Begin with an engaging hook. When you think of England's most famous queen, one name towers above the rest: Queen Elizabeth I. But who was she really? Was she the fearless, golden ruler of the Elizabethan age, or was there more to her story? The truth is far more complex and fascinating than the legend. Introduce the topic and tease key elements to come: her difficult rise to power, her handling of political threats, her personal struggles, and her enduring birth and family background. Elizabeth was born in 1533 to King Henry VIII in Anne Boleyn. Explore the political and personal turmoil surrounding her birth, especially how Anne's marriage to Henry led to the break from the Catholic Church. The execution of Anne Boleyn. Discuss the impact of her mother's execution on Elizabeth's early life, the subsequent years of her being declared illegitimate, and the complicated relationship with her father. Life at court and the threat of marriage. Highlight Elizabeth's years at court, particularly during her sister Mary I's reign, and her experience of being imprisoned, with political intrigue and potential threats to her life. Accession to the throne. Cover the circumstances of her ascension after Mary I's death in 1558, and how Elizabeth, a 25-year-old woman, navigated a male-dominated political landscape. Religious conflict. Delve into the religious divide between Catholics and Protestants, and Elizabeth's efforts to establish the Elizabethan religious settlement. Was she truly Protestant, or was this a political move to unify the country? The Spanish threat. Discuss the tension with Catholic Spain and King Philip II, particularly focusing on the Spanish Armada of 1588. How did Elizabeth handle this monumental threat to her reign and her country? Internal challenges and power struggles. Explore the political intrigue within her court, including her reliance on powerful advisors like William Cecil and Francis Walsingham. Also, touch on the rise of the faction led by the Duke of Norfolk, and Elizabeth's own cautiousness in political decision-making. The Virgin Queen persona. Explore how Elizabeth carefully crafted the image of the Virgin Queen, a ruler above reproach, a symbol of England's independence. Why did she reject marriage despite numerous suitors, including the famous rivalry with Mary, Queen of Scots? Political marriage proposals. Discuss the marriage proposals from key European powers, such as Philip II of Spain, Archduke Charles of Austria, and Robert Dudley, and why Elizabeth remained steadfastly single. Her relationship with Robert Dudley. Discuss the speculated romantic relationship between Elizabeth and Robert Dudley, a topic of much historical debate. The symbolism of virginity and nationalism. Analyze how Elizabeth's virginity became a symbol not only of her personal status but also of England's unity and strength, particularly in contrast to Spain and other European powers. Elizabeth and the expansion of the British Empire. Discuss her strategic support for explorers like Sir Francis Drake, Sir Walter Raleigh, and the growth of England's overseas trade and exploration, including the establishment of colonies in the New World. Relations with France and Spain. Examine Elizabeth's balancing act in European politics, dealing with rivals like France and Spain. Highlight key moments like the Treaty of Nonsuch, 1585, with the Dutch rebels against Spain, and the complex relationship with France. The Elizabethan era's cultural flourishing. Touch on how Elizabeth's reign coincided with the English Renaissance, marked by the works of playwrights like Shakespeare and Marlowe, and the cultural achievements of the time. This period also saw the emergence of a distinctly English identity. The decline of health. Discuss the toll of age, illness, and the pressures of ruling a growing empire. Elizabeth was in her 60s by the end of her reign, and her health deteriorated rapidly in her final years. The death of Robert Dudley and the rise of new advisors. How did Elizabeth cope with the loss of her close confidant, Robert Dudley, and the changing political landscape in her later years? The issue of succession. Delve into the issue of succession. Elizabeth never named an heir. This uncertainty around her death created a political vacuum that could have destabilized the country. Ultimately, Elizabeth's death in 1603 led to the peaceful succession of James VI of Scotland, James I of England, uniting the crowns. Elizabeth's influence on modern England. How did Elizabeth's reign shape the course of British history, especially in terms of national identity, political structure, and the monarchy? Cultural and literary legacy. Reflect on the lasting impact of the Elizabethan Renaissance, which not only transformed English literature but also influenced Western culture for centuries. Debunking myths. Address some of the common myths about Elizabeth, such as the idea that she was entirely unmarried for political reasons, or the overly romanticized image of the Virgin Queen. What did she really represent for England at the time? Historical viewpoints. Discuss the modern historical perspectives on Elizabeth I. Was she the great ruler history remembers, or were her triumphs overshadowed by more complex factors like political pragmatism and self-preservation? Summarize the key points. Elizabeth was not just a legendary monarch, but a deeply complex figure who shaped the course of English history. And with a thought-provoking closing, the truth about Elizabeth I is that she was both a product of her time and a monarch who helped define that very time for centuries to come. Her reign may have ended in 1603, but the echoes of her decisions, her brilliance, and even her contradictions still resonate today. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, hit the notification button and don't forget to share.